Hello everybody, happy Wednesday morning. My name is Elise and welcome to my tea table. We've got a Constitution study group. I know you all are used to me coming on a little bit later in the day to do this after we've had enough time to adjust to our day so that we can dive deep into these conversations of civility and of politeness to one another. But I've got a busy schedule today. Hey Dawn, how's it going? Good morning. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're doing well, Dawn. Hope you're drinking lots of good tea. Speaking of, I've got to get myself set up for some good tea. We have a special requested Constitution study group from our good friend Kayla. Hopefully she'll be showing up soon to hang out with us and to help guide us in this conversation, at least with some questions. She had sent me a message about a very specific topic relating to the newly passed 2021 Omnibus Appropriations bill, which is the newest COVID relief act that was passed that, of course, brought us our latest stimulus payment. But there's a lot more to it than just that, and I was surprised. She had brought a question specifically related to the vaping industry. And I thought, what the heck? What does the vaping industry have to do with COVID relief? Well, for some reason, the people that wrote this law thought that there was some connection there. And so I'm going to look at an article that Kayla shared with me just so we can understand the intricacies of that specific topic relating to the vaping industry. And then we'll look at the bill itself and see what are some of the other areas that this bill will be impacting. And I think we're all going to be really surprised. I just took a short glance at it. I have not dove deep into it. I didn't do a lot of research for y'all before coming on live, but we'll get through it together. But I got into a little bit of a political debate. Early morning or late night, yeah, it's not one of those things. I slept a full night last night, Sam. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming by. I'm early morning. I'm ready to hop on a plane and get some business travel in over this weekend. But Kayla had specifically requested that I do this Constitution study group. So I thought, okay, I'll squeeze it in the morning before I have to go. Yeah. Also, I missed streaming last night. I'm really sad about that because I was going to do my first gaming stream. It's an art stream. Tuesday nights I like to... Kayla's beer. All right, Kayla. Yeah, I'm doing it, Kayla. I'm not going to India today. No, I'm going to I'm going to New York City. So I think I'll be doing some IRL streaming from New York City. So some more chicken toe sucking and flushing on the street might be happening. I have some interesting meetings set up. So hopefully, if they're down, I'll be streaming our conversations. So back to New York. Last night I couldn't stream. The power went out. The entire neighborhood, I think it was 8 or so blocks around where we are right here. Oh, look who wants to say hello. Who wants to come say good morning? Good morning. He says good morning. Sit down, boy. Sit down. Be a good boy. Yeah. The power went out, so I couldn't stream, and I had it all set up. I was so excited. I was so super excited. For streaming a game. So I'll pick it up, not next week, because next week, Tuesday, we're going to have a special 420. It is going to be 420 next Tuesday, and we're going to do a special live improvised art stream that night to include an exclusive set by one of our favorite musical groups, including Sojourner. Sojourner, the beats that we've been listening to for the past few months now. His band DJ Dad Shirt. So they're a 3-piece band. Turbo Ted plays a whole slew of synthesizers and drum machines. Oh, Bitcoin's just making his own. He's making his own setup here. And then Jonah plays drums, and of course Sojourner plays his eclectic set of instruments. So they're going to be jamming. They're going to be making some great music for us. Nick and Zooted Art 702 will be here making their paint pour art and oil paintings, as well as Procreate iPad paintings, or I should call them drawings. It'll be fun. It's gonna be super fun. But perhaps in future weeks, I will start gaming, and I'm gonna be gaming a new NFT game. NFT, of course, stands for non-fungicide teas. I know, but people are starting to make really great art and selling those as NFTs. And one such project I've heard of that I'm very interested in supporting is a RPG game called Punk Do. And basically, you're a punk, and I don't know. I've got to start playing the game. But I figured that would be on brand. Oh my goodness, Bitcoin, come here. Bitcoin got a little excited. He's gotten a little excited. You okay, buddy? Did you see that? He like coughed up a little bit. Poor Bitcoin. Bitcoin, no. Calm down, boy. Calm down. He just drank a bunch of water, and that's what he does. He drinks a bunch of water and then he gets excited. So yeah, I figured an RPG game about being a punk. Yeah. Bitcoin. And he was like right in front of the camera. He's fine. He's just looking up at me like, I drank my water too fast. I got too excited. Poor Bitcoin. Yeah, you can clip that. That'll be a good one. That'll be a good clip. Maybe I can turn that into an emote as well, like a Bitcoin barfing emote. Oh man, poor Bitcoin. Poor Bitcoin. All right, I'm gonna drink some Old Tree Shangpuer. I think that's gonna be needed for this conversation. Oh, now he's begging me to come back up here. Bitcoin, go take a nap. Just go sit on the couch and take a nap, boy. You need to calm yourself down. Yeah, I know. I know you're excited to hang out with everybody, but... Oh, lovely what happens on the stream. All right, let me get my my tea brew cam going. So yeah, be on the lookout. I'm gonna start gaming. Oh, we'll have a great meeting. Tell Justin I said hello. I'll be seeing him this evening. Looking forward to our conversation, as well as streaming that conversation. I've been inviting a lot of people. I think it should be a good group of people starting to come together for it. Shupu, go get your shupu. Go get your shupu. Yeah, I got into like a political argument with somebody, and they had mentioned how large this last COVID relief package was, and I didn't believe him. I thought that he was just pulling my leg, but oh my goodness, he was right. This package is larger, at least even the direct stimulus relief part of the package is larger than our annual military budget. I was like, what? Are you kidding? You know, I keep saying, I keep thinking that like anything compared to like our military budget is so small in spending. Everybody's always complaining about, hey Jacob, how are you doing? Good morning, or good evening to you. Hello Brendan, good to see you as well. All right, now's the moment of truth. Get my tea, my morning tea. You know, you all never get to really see me in the morning, so this is a special treat. At this time, I'll be honest, at this time I'm still in bed. I'm a late riser. I stay up late at night. You know, I do all my work at night. Most of our... I know we did not cut our military budget. Nope. We did not cut our military budget. I don't know how we're doing. I think we're just like inflating the economy. We're just like printing new money to cover this extra budgetary thing. But yeah, no, our military spending did not go down. Yeah, we're just printing money. Exactly. That's what we're doing because we can, right? Hey, Budika, how are you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, good morning. It is an honor. Oh, Jacob, you're drinking some Shanlin tea? Wow, nice for you. And that's cotton candy tea. Yum, yum. Very sweet. Very delicious. Oh, I'm spilling tea everywhere. I should get my keyboard out the way. Budika, I hope you're having a wonderful spring. I hope that your gardens are flushing beautifully and you are making some wonderful tea. I've got to get in touch with you about seeing your interest and including your samples in with our next virtual tea festival, which will be an amazing tea race. We'll be taking a virtual tour of the first flush around Asia and putting together. Oh, Sam, you'll have to send that link some other way. My bots don't allow links. You could either whisper it to me in Twitch or just send it somewhere else, but you can email or text it to me and I'll look it up. There's a live stream from the US Mint. I would love to know what they've got to say about this. Yeah, like an immense amount of money is being injected into the economy right now with this bill. And as Kayla has pointed out to me, and the reason why I'm doing this whole stream that she's asked me to look into this is that the bill is addressing far more than just, you know, unemployment or, you know, putting money into the economy. There was a lot of other like laws and other things that were kind of snuck in with that bill. And one of them that we'll look at is affecting the vape industry, which I know that there's a lot of conflict in the vape industry in various states, but I've never seen anything on a federal level like this. So I'm looking forward to looking into it. You're drinking some cookie cha. Good for you. That's a great tea to drink in the morning. Easy going. All right. Thanks for emailing that over. I'll check it out. It's the last stimulus. It's already been passed. It's already been passed. And it's got Drew Carey. Did you just send me like an improv video or something, Sam? Oh, that's funny. You kind of trolled me, huh? Kind of trolled me. It's kind of like that one time that girl came into the Topia tea house. She spent like almost 2 hours hanging out with us in Topia, like building trust with us and making us feel comfortable with her. And then she says, "Oh, can I play some music for you?" And she plays some like K-pop, and we're like, "Okay, that's cool, K-pop." And then she freaking rickrolls us. I kind of feel like that same feeling just happened, Sam. Good for you. Good for you. Thanks for that. All right, let's get studying. Sam says the philosophy of the US Mint, the show where everything's made up and the points don't matter. Oh man. All right. So Brendan, I'm going to take a note of this. So Brendan asked, is there anything in the bill for community policing? We'll check that, you know, because first we're going to look specifically at the bill as it affects the vape industry, as we see here in the link I've got behind me. This was an article from February 26th. So this is not like new news. I feel like I'm a little delayed. I should have looked at this months ago. The bill was passed in the end of December. So it's a delay, but it's okay. Thank you, Kayla, for bringing it to my attention. I feel late to the game, especially after reading how large the budget actually was and how encompassing the bill actually was compared to what I thought it was. And compared, of course, to the first, CARES Act that came out in 2020 to, provide support for COVID relief. So this is an article published in Vaping 360, which is like a vape industry magazine. So this is not like an academic peer-reviewed source for us to be looking at. So there will be a bias, but at the same time, the only way that we're going to see this perspective on the story as it specifically affects this industry is by looking at publications like this. So it's okay. Jim McDonald says, the late December 2020, so this was in 2020 still, Congress passed a huge spending package that included a coronavirus relief bill and buried deep in the 5,000-page document a law entitled the Preventing Online Sales of E-Cigarettes to Children Act. One of those things hidden in there. It was quickly signed into law by President Trump. The act is commonly referred to by vapers as the vape mail ban, but its effects will be much more profound than the prohibition on postal delivery that gave it its nickname. The Preventing Online Sales of E-Cigarettes to Children Act wasn't new. It had already passed the House in October 2019 and the Senate in July of 2020 in slightly different forms. CASA issued a call to action for the bill before it passed the Senate in the summer, but few vapers or vaping businesses seemed especially alarmed by the prospect of its passage. The new law does two things. It instructs the U.S. Postal Service to create regulations prohibiting shipment of all vaping products through the U.S. mail to residential addresses. And it inserts vaping products into the Prevent All Cigarette Trafficking Act. The Preventing Online Sales of E-Cigarettes to Children Act covers a much wider range of products than the FDA's deeming rule and is unrelated to the FDA's tobacco and vaping regulations. Hi Gabby, welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming by and hanging out with us. The definitions of products covered by the law is so broad that it captures not just nicotine vaping devices and e-liquid, but anything that can be used to vape any liquid or oil-based substance and the substances themselves. The Postal Ban and PACT Act provisions will include all e-liquid and oil vaping devices, nicotine and nicotine-free e-liquids, CBD, which, this is 420 a month, and we've been covering a lot of that industry, and Delta 8 carts, liquids and oils, and every related component, part, or accessory intended for those products. All right, get back to it, Brendan. Thanks for hanging out with us. You can always watch the VOD, the playback, if interested, and I'll be sure to hit you up with any specific things that I learn here that I think would be of interest to you. Following passage of the new law, the major private delivery companies announced that they too would stop delivering vaping products, not just to homes but also to businesses. FedEx will end vape product shipping March 1st and UPS on March 5th. DHL has already prohibited shipping vaping and nicotine products in the US before the law passed. What follows is a general look at what is likely to happen as a result of the new shipping restrictions and the PACT Act. The article is geared towards vaping consumers who make up most of Vaping 360's readership, but will also touch on the likely effects for vape business. It is not legal or business advice. If you own a vaping business, you should be discussing your options with a knowledgeable lawyer, your suppliers, and your state trade organizations. On February 19th, USPS published its proposed rule titled Treatment of E-Cigarettes in the Mail in the Federal Register and provided a 31-day window for public comment, which ends on March 22nd. The final rule will take effect soon after publication on March 27th. This is the same day the PACT Act rules will become law. Dinner lady. For those wishing to comment on the regulations, there are limited demands to be made of the Postal Service. The USPS is being ordered by the Congress to impose the shipping ban. So yeah, it is a government agency, so that makes sense. It wasn't the agency's idea, and the Postal Service has no leeway to do anything else. That said, CASA has issued a call to action with suggested talking points for vapors to use in their comments to both the USPS and members of Congress. It's important that the Postal Service, and especially Congress, hear how this law will hurt ordinary consumers, and that they hear from a lot of us. The Postal, and again, this is coming from the bias of, the vaping industry. I said us here. I don't feel like I belong in this category, but just for the sake of reading this article. The Postal Agency essentially intends to add vaping products to its existing cigarette and smokeless tobacco mailing rules, with minor changes that won't affect online vape purchasers. The rules prohibit U.S. mail shipments from businesses to retail customers, except shipments within the states of Alaska and Hawaii, and make business-to-business shipping very difficult. The existing USPS rules do contain exception that allows private individuals to mail up to 10 small under 10-ounce packages per month containing cigarettes or smokeless tobacco to other private individuals or to businesses. Presumably, this exception will be extended to vaping products. The exception is intended for gifts or for returning defective products to a manufacturer. There are specific rules private senders must follow. So that's interesting. There's a loophole, Kayla, that your friend could be just shipping privately. And that's what happens even in the tea industry. So there's regulations at customs that whenever you're shipping from a business to an individual or a business to a business, that you have to go through certain FDA compliance foreign supplier verification programs. And so that's really what can hold back some tea businesses because that compliance is a little tricky to navigate. And so a lot of companies are just sending as if it's a private, like individual sending to a private individual, and they totally get away with not complying with the FDA importing laws. So, I don't advocate for it. Actually, I don't do it. Since I started TLET, I've never done that. A lot of my peers in the industry do that. But I think that that's something when you're playing with loopholes like that, there's always the chance that everything can be pulled from under you. So I personally believe it's really smart to be just following the rules and trying to remain within compliance as much as possible. But there's a loophole, for the time being that your friend could potentially deal with. The Prevent All Cigarette Trafficking Act was a 2009 amendment to the 1949 Jenkins Act and was passed primarily to combat online sales of untaxed cigarettes. The 2009 law prohibits U.S. mail delivery of cigarettes and smokeless tobacco and requires online sellers to register with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. That still just makes me laugh every time. All those things in one package. And the tax administrators of each state. The PACT Act mandates collection of state and local taxes by online sellers, creates standards for private carriers, delivering cigarettes and smokeless tobacco to residential and business customers, and imposes strict rules regarding tax collection, payment, and reporting to states and the federal government. The Preventing Online Sales of E-Cigarettes to Children Act that became law last December amends the PACT Act to include vaping products along with cigarettes and smokeless tobacco. While the original law's goal was to police tax compliance, the inclusion of vaping products is supposedly intended primarily to prevent online sales to minors. Online retailers will be required to verify age of customers using commercially available database, use private shipping services that collect an adult signature at the point of delivery, register with the ATF and the U.S. Attorney General, register with state and local tax administrators in all states, localities where business is done, collect and pay all applicable local and state taxes, and affix any required tax stamps to the products sold. And each month, a list of all transactions must be sent to each state's tax administrator. That includes the names and addresses of each customer sold to, the quantities and types of each product sold, and the name, addresses, and phone number of the persons delivering the shipment to the recipient. The PACT Act also imposes additional labeling, delivering, and record-keeping rules. The federal laws backed up its stringent standards with severe criminal penalties that can include huge fines and even federal prison sentences for selling vape stuff. Unlike the relatively relaxed enforcement procedures of the FDA, the ATF is an actual police agency that takes its enforcement mandates seriously. Excuses like, this is what we've always done and nobody complained, will fall on deaf ears, and ATF is likely to make examples of some compliance retailers. Welcome to the stream, Tug. On top of that, each state has its own set of rules for companies doing businesses in the state. Retailers can be cited by states for not following their individual requirements for tax payments and filings, and they may have to purchase tobacco and other licenses and hire a registered agent in the state. According to Jeff Habich of Me1 Brands, manufacturer of MePod, online sellers will also be required to collect sales tax in addition to vaping or tobacco excise taxes in many states, whether they have vaping product taxes or not. Habich says that the economic nexus law can force online sellers to collect sales tax if the retailer's sales in that state reach a certain dollar figure or number of transactions. These numbers vary by state. At least one state is helpfully setting retailers up with the licenses they need to do business legally, and then immediately hitting them with bills for back taxes on past sales to customers in that state. There's nothing the retailers can do but pay the back taxes if they want to continue doing business in that state and avoid a lawsuit. The PACT Act reports requirements will open a new playing field for states that want to squeeze money from out-of-state vendors, especially when combined with the economic nexus laws that mandate sale tax collection. All right, so, I get this. This is more about taxes. All right, here goes my personal opinion on all this. Okay, I'll skip. I'm gonna skip to this B2B part because I think that this is interesting. I want to see that particularly. But here's my personal opinion coming in. Vaping sucks. I'm sorry. I'm just putting it out there. Like, I'm not a fan of it. I have tried it. So I'm not knocking it without trying it. I've tried it. I've been excited about it. I think I got excited about e-cigarettes. What was that? 2006? 2006 was the first time that I got exposed to e-cigarettes. And I thought they were great. The concept of them and the practice of them, I thought they were great. And even recently, I have dabbled in it again. Not so much with tobacco products. I've completely have no interest with tobacco vaping products. And my friends that do tobacco vaping, that have transitioned from smoking cigarettes to vaping. And that was what I got excited about it whenever I first heard about e-cigarettes. A lot of my friends were starting to get off of cigarettes and I think the dependency just transitions from one to the other, and it almost becomes more intense. And let's not forget how obnoxious it is, as a non-vapor around a vapor person. Yeah. But this is just my personal opinion. I'm bringing it in. I don't know about the research that has come out about the health and safety and prolonged sustainability of of vaping. You know, like I've heard vaping for like oils, like essential oils that you can like vape those. Like I've actually worked with a couple of clients that are trying to make like cool tea house experiences where vaping is a component of it. But it's like really specialized kind of vaping where like they put like certain essential oils in there or certain terpenes or whatever you want to call them that can have some kind of physiological effect to you. And that's interesting and semi-medicinal and healing. But like the vaping that's this article is talking about and that these laws are like really affecting are like habitual vapors. And I just like haven't seen a whole lot of research on either side of the argument, like solid good research on whether or not the habit is healthy or not for a sustained habitual consumption of vaping products. It certainly doesn't do much to help with the like dependency part of like tobacco consumption. It just kind of transfers it to another one and almost becomes stronger, you know, because I feel like people that are vaping just constantly feel like they can be doing it. So that's my personal opinion coming in, you know, so I kind of like don't feel sorry for this industry. You know, if I was in this industry and seeing these laws and what's going on, I would see this that, you know, there's not going to be an end to the government trying to stop this industry. It's been years now. I think, what was the first state? Like Colorado or Washington State? I think it was Washington State. That was the first one that the state just like really threatened the entire industry, that they were just going to shut the whole industry down because of the sell to minors. And that makes sense too, you know, regardless of like the health properties of that activity and like what it does for your health in the long run. Introducing, and this is the same thing with fucking sugar and high fructose corn syrup. I've got the same, you know, kind of belief against it. And that like young people that are learning how to interact with the products that they consume are in a very like impressionable period of their life, which is, yeah, the same thing. It's even worse with sugar and high fructose corn syrup than it is with vaping. But I think that that's like a reason why there has been this like kind of targeted defense against this industry towards minors, because it implants this dependency that young people don't really need. Same thing with sugar and high fructose corn syrup, though. So like I'm umbrellaing all these things together. I'm not just trying to specifically target the vape industry. But yeah, that's my personal opinion coming out, Kayla. I'm sorry, may not, you know. But yeah, I don't vape. I've tried it before, but I'm not into it. Like certain cannabis products, I have tried it before, and they have their purpose. And really the purpose is really more of like a component piece. Like most cannabis users don't prefer consuming it through vaping, but there's like a convenience piece to it that like it's discreet and you can kind of sneak in consumption of it no matter where you are without, you know, grabbing people's attention or whatever. Again, my personal opinion's all just coming out here. Just nothing to do and not trying to play it devil's advocate or not trying to say that I support this law. I also believe that it's kind of ridiculous that this law got snuck into a bigger law, which we will look at, that is meant to be addressing a very serious issue in regards to how to relieve the economy and relieve the public during this time of difficulty of the pandemic. You should get your friend to get into the tea business, Kayla. Oh, cool. Awesome. I was like reluctant to give my personal opinion because, you know, and regardless of my personal opinion, like any advice, like real advice I'd give to somebody that's in this industry and reading these laws and feeling threatened by what's going on with these laws is that, like, this shit is not going to end. Like, the battle is only going to get stronger and stronger, and the government is only going to, like, be working harder to oppress this business. So, you know, regardless of what my personal opinion is, like, I think that's just smart for anybody in the business. Like, it's going to be smarter to invest your efforts and your resources into paving a new path versus trying to, like, lobby and fight this battle that's going on. So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know your friend was probably have a very heated debate with me in regards to what I said about my personal opinion, but you know, like, my personal opinion is also backed by, like, just trends in the market and trends of what's going on. Like, there's gets these peaks of interest in vaping, but then, you know, in action start seeing that. Anyway, all right, let's get back to the article. So the B2B shipping, I think that's vaping manufacturers, distributors, and brick and mortar retailers will face many of the same shipping challenges as online retailers. FedEx, UPS, and DHL will no longer carry their packages, and the Postal Service exemption many have pinned their hopes on is probably not the answer. The USPS is refusing to even accept applications for B2B vape accounts until it issues its final rule. But even assuming it allows manufacturers and wholesalers to ship by US mail, the current rules for tobacco shipping indicate that the process would be expensive and brutally cumbersome. First, applicants must provide the names and addresses of all the businesses they will ship to on their application, along with providing a list of all their customers' licenses. If the business later adds new customers or a customer changes his addresses, the application must be updated and the changes approved by USPS before any products can be shipped to the new address. Applicants must also name the individual post offices it will ship from and only use those branches. Packages have to be physically carried into the post office and processed in a face-to-face transaction. Shippers are restricted to 3 priority mail options. Each package must be attached a request for PS Form 3811, return receipt, which must bear the sender's pack eligibility number, and other specific information, some of which may be identical to that listed on the shipper's B2B tobacco application. The receiving business has another set of steps to follow. These requirements are simply not practical for, say, a manufacturer that ships dozens or hundreds of large packages a day. Not only would it be exceedingly expensive to send large B2B packages via priority mail, but the labor involved to ship would require hiring staff to do nothing but visit the post office daily. Unless you're shipping just 2 or 3 packages a day, USPS isn't going to work. I'd have to physically go into the post office and fill out one of those little green cards for each package. Nobody will do that. That leaves manufacturers and wholesalers in the same boat as online retailers. They will have to create a private network of shipping companies to carry products. And while the PACT Act requirements are somewhat less strict for businesses, vape shippers are still stuck with nearly the same tax compliance and reporting issues. The wholesale segment of the vaping industry is fairly accustomed to the world of shipping freight. But with the big carriers out of the picture, they'll have to go through essentially the same process X is attempting with B2C shipping. The freight industry is a huge collection of national, regional, and local carriers that deliver full truckloads, LTL, and smaller parcels. Vaping businesses will have to assemble ad hoc networks from the existing companies after assessing shippers' willingness to carry nicotine and vaping products, and create logistics systems that can manage deliveries between the various manufacturers, distribution warehouses, and vape shops. I mean, this just, like, how business works, like, this will just all work out. You know, like, if this is such a prevalent big problem for the entire industry, there will be at least one player, but probably several, that are going to jump up and create their own logistics systems and handle logistics for other companies, as well as B2C shipments, like consumer shipments, retail shipments. So It may end up making shipping costs more expensive. It may not. It actually may bring it down. So yeah, the consumer will more than likely end up seeing a price increase at the end of the day. Two companies that are already like creating. Oh, here we go. Michael Wittenberg, who has 20 years of logistics experience and history in vape industry, has created a company called Vape Freight. See, I told you. Like, it's just like us. Like, oh, there's shipping issues and we're not going to be able to get our tea onto a boat, you know, through a container, through those traditional channels or conventional channels. Okay, well, we'll just do it ourselves. You know, that's how business works, you know. He'll complete a B2B shipping solution for the vape industry. He says the company will offer freight, LTL, and parcel delivery across the nation, and that he has already have arrangements with over 5,000 carriers. Freight services are less touchy about delivering tobacco than companies who do residential delivery, so the process of finding partners is less fraught. Vape freight customers are shipping LTL and freight right now, and we should have parcel service by the end of the week. So through some test shipments, he says 90% of his business is B2B sales, and he has been exclusive with that FedEx for freight delivery until now. As the case for online retailers, vape manufacturers and wholesalers are being forced to create a new shipping ecosystem as they go along. Even businesses that survive will go through months of turmoil. Then this article has DIY. Just make it yourself. So this is interesting. So buying DIY nicotine can be as difficult as buying e-liquid after the restrictions take effect, but a little goes a long way. If you buy and freeze a couple liters of 100 milligrams per milliliter nicotine, it can supply your e-liquid needs for years, depending on your nicotine strength preference. Learning to make your own DIY e-liquid is a relatively simple process. Oh, this is interesting. All right, so I'm done with this article. But Kayla, thank you for sharing this. Yeah, I mean, this is just like an exact manifestation of what happens to an industry when there's evolution and change, like rapid change. Like, yeah, it's just rapidly going to change itself and figure itself out. Oh, cool. So it seems that like he should be able to just make his own, and then if he's doing the DIY, then accessing the concentrate, the nicotine concentrate, should be a lot easier for him than just like redistributing other vape products. Yeah, so it seems like a business like his may not be as affected as someone else, but still affected. All right, so let's see this one. This is from the National Conference for State Legislatures. So, and this is just kind of a breakdown of the bill, the full bill that encompassed that specific bill that we just looked at. The 2021 Omnibus Appropriations Bill. On a 359 to 53 vote in the House and 92 to 6 in the Senate, so it was voted pretty unanimously, Congress passed a $900 billion, $900 billion. Yeah, so the bill was like written and first voted on in 2020, but I think it was finally signed. So the president signed the measure in law on December 27th. Remember whenever like we were waiting for that last stimulus package, and at the like right after the election, and it was delayed, and then it finally got signed after the election. This is it. $900 billion. So just looking here, this is like a Google search of like the military budget in 2020. Military budget of 2020 was $721 billion. So like this is even more. So that was that little debate, that little political debate I got into, where I was told how big it was. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that. I didn't believe. I always just assumed that like the military spending is like our biggest priority, which usually it is, but it's interesting. And there's a $1.4 trillion government funding package that gives critical pandemic aid to Americans while securing federal agency operations through September 2021. The president signed the measure into law on December 27th, and this document provides the highlights of the $1.4 billion Omnibus Appropriations provisions. So what is it? 1.4 billion. I think that they meant to have trillion here. I think that's a typo. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll quickly, but here's all the different, so I think I can reduce, let me reduce this so we can see the whole list. So it involves agriculture, commerce, defense, education, energy, environment, federal communication, or FCC, FEMA, FTC, financial services, homeland security, health and human services, housing and urban development, interior, justice, labor, technology, transportation, Army Corps of Engineers, treasury, veterans affairs, and tax provisions. Those are all the areas that this bill addressed. Let's just look quickly through them. 1.4 trillion. That is a lot of money. $23.4 billion in discretionary funding for agriculture, rural development. That was $217 million more than the year before. $3.3 billion is for agriculture research programs. $3.9 billion for rural development. I mean, so this seems to be a lot of things that are just increasing budgets for things that were already budgeted before. $1 billion for animal and plant health inspection service. $1 billion for the food safety and inspection service. So you see a slight increase. So these were things that weren't prioritized. They were just kept the same. $1.82 billion for agency farm programs. So this is confusing. So maybe that whole 1.4 trillion is not like added funding. I mean, if we were to look at like the difference here, so you see all these differences, it says like 217 million more than the year before. So I would consider this to be like additional spending versus like counting this. So this number, 23.4 billion, is a part of that 1.4 trillion. But only 217 million, but you know, compared to 23 billion, like this is only, what is that? 1% of that is an increase from what we normally would have been spending. So I think it's kind of misleading to assume that like the 1.4 trillion is just like this injection on top of what we already would have been budgeting for. So maybe I can look up and see, if there's some type of calculation or look of like, what is this balance. Like, what was the actual injection versus, because 1.4 trillion is just like alarming. No, I don't want to be famous. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be famous. Neither will you be. Thank you for leaving my chat. So 20 million increase for agency farm programs, 185 million for watershed and flood protection infrastructure. This is interesting. The bill also includes provisions which extends the hemp pilot program. I don't know what the hemp pilot program is, but that looks like something I should know about. Maybe I do know about it, I've just never seen it titled like that. I'm just looking up really quickly. So the pilot program was through the 2014 Farm Bill, which is the 2018. So every 4 years, our Farm Bill gets like revised. So the 2014 pilot was like where the pilot was launched. But then in 2018, it became like legalized like totally. So I don't even understand why the pilot program is even relevant still. Anyway. Let's look at commerce. So it provides $346 billion for the Economic Development Administration, a $13 million increase. See, these increases are like very insignificant compared to the actual budget. And that's interesting. Only $119 million for Public Works Department grants. You'd think that that would be much more than that. $48 million for the Minority Business Development Agency. Oh, good for you. 14% increase. Okay. $541 million for the International Trade Administration. Defense. Let's see what the defense got. Provides $695.9 billion to Department of Defense, including $68.7 billion for the Overseas Contingency Operations Fund. Oh, hey Jacob, I see you're still here. You want to come on my video? I'm sorry. I'm not really happy with you right now, Jacob. Sorry to say. I was very excited when I first met you, but recently I've been seeing your behavior on social media, and I've actually talked with you before about it, and I've talked to you privately about it. So now I feel comfortable talking to you publicly about it. But it's very inappropriate how you're behaving online. And, I know that, like, you're trying your best. You're trying to support the community. But you can't be taking people's identities. And you can't be giving false information in line. So, I've unfollowed you. And I'm going to be recommending to other people to be unfollowing you. I'm not going to block you. And I potentially will follow you again in the future when your behavior becomes more authentic. But, I know you're young and you're trying to figure it out. But, I've talked to you about this. You don't take people's identity and try to pretend to be them. And that will have major negative consequences for you if you continue to do that. Because I just know one person in particular who is heavily offended by it. I'm not so offended by it. You haven't really done much, from my content, but I suggest that you get rid of this whole, identity of trying to be like the rabbit of tea, or in the lo-fi stuff. Like, you got to find your own authenticity, man. But thank you for being here in my life, and you're still here listening to me. Thank you for listening. I don't want you to be offended. I don't want you to feel attacked. You're not being attacked. This is a friend, a mentor that's trying to help you. So, if you ever see Sensei Gung Fu, very enthusiastic about tea on Instagram, but he runs about, I don't know, how many accounts do you have now? It seems like you have dozens of accounts. So several of them kind of copycatting other influential tea bloggers and tea Instagrammers. People work really hard on their authenticity and their identity online, and it's really offensive when someone else takes that identity and tries to pretend to be them. Oh, we're back to the dolphin techno. All right, so provides $695.9 billion to Department of Defense. Also, there was a $9.7 billion increase or decrease from 2020. So we're putting less into the defense. So that's, $157 billion for military personnel funding. Oh, there was a pay raise of 3% for personnel. That's interesting. I mean, if there's going to be any increase in the defense budget, I think on personnel is something nice. $107 billion for R&D, an increase of 2.5%. Well, all right. The funding provides increases in next-generation technologies, including hypersonics research, unmanned systems, military applications of 5G, and more. The amounts also include development of major weapon systems. All right, and $136.5 billion for the immediate modernization of military equipment. So we're investing more in like military technology. Kayla, that was that streamer. So I was like, that kid, that young guy from Slovakia, like, good heart, like I do, want to support him. Like, it was a very exciting night when he came on. But he's gone down a rabbit hole, and really kind of pissing off a lot of people. So I'm not pissed, but I don't mind being in a position of mentorship and helping someone out. So we're gonna invest in all of the technology, but so I wonder what those decreases, right? Because that was like at the very beginning it says a 9.7 billion decrease, which is pretty significant. That's like a 2% decrease in total budget, or maybe like 1.5% decrease in total budget. We had all these increases in personnel, and so where were those decreases from? Hopefully it's from like all the corrupt contracts, all the super corrupt contracts in military spending. There's a movie, it's a fictional movie, and it's kind of an entertaining movie, but it's kind of an interesting way of understanding that those contracts. It's called War Dogs. The movie's called War Dogs. It's kind of comedy. It's got the one kid from Superbad in it, forgetting Jonah. Jonah Hill, I think that's his name, has him in the movie. And so it's kind of comical, but it's serious too, where these like kids get involved in bidding for military contracts, and they explain the whole process and how corrupt it is. So yeah, that's it. So I hope, I hope that's where it is. I had like a friend came over, and we were talking about doing some work together, and he was using this really nice retractable pencil, and I'm like, whoa, where'd you get this cool pencil from? And he says, oh, well, I got it from like an estate sale. Like I bought a bunch of art supplies, and this pencil came with it. I'm like, oh, that's great. And he says, yeah, I've like tried to go buy refills and of the lead that goes inside the pencil. And he says, I found out that this is like an exclusive pencil that's produced, and it's like a Japanese manufacturer that's produced exclusively for the Department of Defense. It is like exclusively the only pencil that can be used in the Department of Defense. And the refills are something like $40 a stick of lead. $40 a stick of lead. That's part of these like corrupt government contracts through the Department of Defense. So hopefully, like that reduction is what is addressing those contracts, because I mean everything else is increased. So anyway, let's go on. Education provides $73.5 billion for the Department of Education. So that's like a 1% increase. Funding elementary and secondary education. So $16.5 billion for Title I grants to school districts, $14.1 billion for individuals with disability, $2.1 trillion for Title II teacher professional development state grants. $1.2 billion for Title IV student support and academic enrichment grants. $10.7 billion for Head Start. $1.3 billion for career and technical education state grants. So it looks like across the board, education's gotten some pretty healthy increases, which is good. Hey. Jacob, is that a you again? It looks like you. Looks like you, Jacob. Oh, this is interesting. So this is kind of like legislative add-ons, but some of these deal with that's funny. You're asking about Bitcoin's vomit. He hasn't vomited again, but something's still up with him. He came over here and he's like giving me this face like, do you want to come up and tell everybody how you're feeling? Come here. Come here. Maybe I'll just hold on to you. Maybe he just wants to be held. Maybe he just wants to be held. So it resets Pell lifetime limits for students if they have loans discharged because they have been defrauded by their institutions. So that's interesting. Starting to address, the whole student funding with a student loan issue that's going on. Repeals the ban on Pell eligibility among... Are you okay? What's going on, boy? Oh, poor Bitcoin. Repeals law that prohibits students convicted of drug offenses from receiving federal financial aid. Well, that's good. And discharges $1.34 billion in loans made by the HBCUs under the HBCU capital financing loan. But eliminates prohibition on using federal funds for transportation costs to carry out school desegregation efforts. That's interesting. That's a whole other thing. Maybe that should be a whole other topic. I should do a completely other Bitcoin. Come on. Go on. You don't want to be up here. Why are you acting like you're trying to be up here? Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Like these school desegregation efforts. It's similar to the tokenism issue that we've talked about on here, about how detrimental tokenism is, like how it hurts not only the tokens but the people around the tokens. So that's interesting because this thing is encouraging more school desegregation efforts, and I don't think that's a solution. It's definitely not a solution. All right, let's see the energy concerns. Wow, that's a pretty big increase. $1 billion increase compared to the year before for the DOE, Department of Energy. All right, let's look at it. 2.86 billion for energy efficiency. 750 million for fossil energy research. 427 million for the Advanced Research Projects Agency Energy. 1.5 billion for nuclear energy research. It's interesting. I think that there's a bit of a strong effort advocating against nuclear energy, so it's good we're seeing an increase here. About a 10% increase to the Office of Electricity. That's a big one. Interesting that would get such a big increase. The Office of Electricity, I got to look into what they do. 62.5 million for the U.S. State Energy Program. 7.58 billion for the DOE's environmental management activities. And it has a host of provisions extending existing energy-related tax credits. All right. Environment. It's a pretty significant increase for this segment. 4.31 billion for state and local tribal assistance grants. 2.77 billion for the Clean Water and Drinking Water State revolving funds. Which was the same as the year before. 65 million for the Water Infrastructure Finance Act program. The same thing for lead contamination testing at schools and child care centers. That's interesting. They kept testing the water in 2020 for schools and child care centers that weren't open. But anyway, on all the year 2020. 26.6 million for lead reduction projects in rural areas. Well, that's good. That's actually really good. 21.5 million for water projects to bring communities to compliance with safe drinking water. 53 million allocated for scientific and regulatory work and cleanup assistance for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. That's also a pretty significant increase. 20% increase, wow. 91 million for the Brownfields project. And 59 million for targeted airshed grants. $542 million for geographic programs such as the Great Lakes, Chesapeake Bay, and the Long Island Sound. 12.5 million for environmental justice programs. Wow. Also a pretty big increase. And I wonder what the environmental justice programs we have in place are. I've never heard of those before. I mean, 12.5 million is like a small budget compared to all these other things that we're looking at, but I'd be interested in knowing what the environmental justice is in regards to government agency. 90 million for the Diesel Emissions Reduction Act. Not much of change. The bill also includes a few policy riders that prohibit the use of funds to implement provisions that require the mandatory reporting of methane emissions from animal manure and regulating the lead content of ammunition and fishing tackle. Huh. Okay, cool. So the FCC. So I'm assuming that a lot of this is going to have to do with technology. So there's about a 10% increase for the FCC. 33 million for broadband mapping. I didn't even know that the government was involved in this broadband mapping. I thought that was just kind of all left up to the service providers to do that, but that's cool. We're using 33 million of our bucks to do that. Provides 475 million, an increase of 10 million for regular operations. Okay. FEMA. Wow. FEMA got a pretty big boost. Over 50% increase. So 17.14 billion for disaster response and recovery efforts. 610 million for the State Homeland Security Grant Program, 90 million for the SHSGP Nonprofit Security Grants Program, 705 million for the Urban Area Security Initiative, 90 million for the UASI Nonprofit Security Grant Program, 720 million for firefighter grant programs, and 130 million for the Emergency Food and Shelter Program. Cool. Much needed. I know FEMA was like really struggling to even help with like a COVID response and, you know, all the other natural disasters that we've been dealing with in the country. All right, so the FTC got a like 5 or 7% increase? Okay. I'm still not seeing the part about the. Okay, so here's like a big bump for where the money went, I think. So 304 million for the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Provides 1.926 billion for the Securities and Exchange Commission. Just about a 10% increase. That's interesting. Maybe that's to like address all the crypto stuff going on. And provides 922 million for the SBA. 60 million less. So, you know, I think that that's having to deal, the reason why there's a reduction was that, you know, SBA's budget was very big last year to deal with all of the emergency relief, you know, loans that were given out. Homeland Security. So Homeland Security got a pretty big bump. 5% increase. So yeah, the Customs and Border Protection got a pretty big bump. Oh, here's ICE. What did ICE get? Oh, ICE got a decrease. How much is that? Yeah, a pretty significant decrease, and provides no funding for additional immigration enforcement personnel. I know that this is a big political debate, you know, maybe I'll dive deeper into it in another Constitution study group, because yeah, there's a lot of like confusing information about different administrations, But, from the outside looking at this, it's like, oh, this is a pretty significant decrease to the ICE budget. But, so some people can interpret this as like proactive in trying to resolve our immigration issues, and what you could call it, kind of oppression that's happening for people trying to immigrate. But maybe it could also mean something else. Yeah, so the border enforcement is needing bigger budgets because we are having like a huge influx of people trying to come in. And Biden, at least what I've heard, him saying that they're trying to provide economic support to the countries these people are trying to come from, before trying to address the actual border. But I think that there's a lot to be said there. So I think that that's like a whole other conversation on its own. So $2 billion for cybersecurity and infrastructure security exchange, and $9.4 million. This is an interesting thing. I've looked into this before. That's an interesting. It's almost like what do you call it? It's almost like what do you call that? The data under the Navy, NSA. It's kind of like the NSA, but it's through Homeland Security. It's like, what are they doing? And if you look at their programs, like what actually this agency does, it'll surprise you. But also here it does say it. 92.8 million to advance cyber operations, 43.9 million for threat hunting for threats, 43.3 million for the continuous diagnosis and mitigation program. This is actually where a lot of the I think this particular part of the program is where they do the bioscanning technology, where they basically can fingerprint you based upon the way that your body works. So the way you walk. So they'll no longer identify us from our fingerprints. They'll identify us from the way we talk or the way we walk. And so then they can use CCTV footage and other, infinite amount of data that's available to them to trace us versus, identifying us from our fingerprints. They'll identify us from the way we walk. What's that called? It's like a it's called bio something. Hey, Love Tour. Bioscanning. I think that this is the part of it that's where they do that kind of research. And I know this just because I have a friend that I believe, of course cannot tell me directly, but I believe is involved in this specific area. And I was on the phone with him, or he called me one time when I was going for a jog. Literally just from my voice on the phone, and was able to tell me which leg I put most of my effort on, because he was calculating the timing between the strides of my legs, and he could tell me, oh, you put more weight on your left leg, but you're right-handed, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, yeah, but you favor your left leg, which is interesting because I've always skateboarded and surfed and snowboard goofy. It's just more natural for my left leg to be my anchor leg to control things. But my right arm is always, and he was able to figure that out. And I'm like, what the heck? So imagine if you plug that kind of knowledge into an AI machine. Poof. Yeah, you won't be able to hide anywhere. Even if you got rid of your phone and whatever, they'll still be able to identify you from other information. Okay, so the department shall ensure that separated family units are reunited prior to removal or release from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection custody and remain together upon the transfer to ICE or Office of Refuge. Yeah, longboarding's fun. I like it a lot. I'm still not seeing the thing in here about the vape. Maybe it's through here. So they got a $2 billion increase. And this is where the FDA is. Human and Health Services encompasses a lot of things. $24.7 billion for the Administration of Children and Families, $42.9 billion for the National Institutes of Health, $7.9 billion for the CDC, $2.8 billion. We don't really see the increases here, but you see the numbers. Oh, there's a $46. I'm guessing 46 billion, or is that just like $46 increase from last year for SNAP, which is like welfare. I think it's 46. Maybe it's 46 million, but maybe it's 46 billion. That'd be interesting. I want to check that one out. 4.2 billion for HIV/AIDS program, 749 million for the community services block grant, 10.7 billion for Head Start. Surprise billing holds patients harmless from surprise medical bills by ensuring that they are only responsible for their in-network cost-sharing amounts, including deductibles, in both emergency situations and certain non-emergency situations where patients do not have the ability to choose an in-network provider. Requires group health plans and health insurance issuers offering coverage in the individual and group markets to conduct comparative analysis of the non-quantitative treatment limitations used for medical and surgical benefits as compared to medical health and substance use disorder beliefs. So there it is again, $46 increase from last year. So there's a $3.8 billion increase for housing, which is good. Rejects the president's proposal to totally eliminate our federal affordable housing and economic development programs, including the Public Housing Capital Fund, Home, Community Development, Block Grants, and Choice Neighborhoods. Well, that's good. I can't believe the president even wanted to eliminate all that. Affordable housing is such an important part of our social programs that could address so many other things. All right, so that pretty healthy increase for the Department of Interior, which includes all of our parks and rec and stuff. $1.67 billion for Bureau of Reclamation. Funds for payment in lieu of taxes program is $515 million. Provides $900 million or $900 for the land. Yeah, I think there's typos. I think that's $1 million. National Park Service with $3.12 billion. A decrease. But that's just from 2020. So because a lot of the parks were closed in 2020, that might be why. But that doesn't make sense either. I don't know. That's not cool. So yeah, Park Service got a decrease. But the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service got an increase. justice. Got a pretty healthy increase. $3.3 billion for law enforcement grants. I'm not going to look into all of these. We can't really see what kind of increases came here, but we can see, you know, all the allocations. Provides $5 million for the development and deployment of databases to track excessive use of force and officer misconduct, to be developed in consultation with state and local law enforcement agencies, community organizations, and advocacy groups, including those that advocate for the preservation of civil liberties and civil rights. $5 million. I guess you could do something with $5 million on that, but like, this is important. I think this is a really important component that is on a lot of people's mind right now. And, you know, Brendan had even asked about this, so I'll have to follow up with him and let him know about that. Stipulates that the Attorney General must develop and implement consistent accreditation standards for federal, state, and local law enforcement, ensure implementation of evidence-based training programs on de-escalation and the use of force in police community relations that are applicable and scalable across all federal programs or agencies. Yeah, so we don't know how large that budget is, but, you know, it'd be interesting to kind of keep an eye on this. Like, now that the Attorney General is going to be held accountable for this component, it would be interesting to see what actually comes of it. Contains language preventing the Department of Justice from interfering with states that have medical marijuana laws, ensuring that the prescribing and dispensing of medical marijuana in those states is both legal and regulated. Okay, labor includes $9.4 billion for Labor Department, ETA, $100 million more. Okay. Well, almost 10% increase, or no, that's like 6% increase for registered apprenticeship program, and rejects president's proposal to create a lower quality non-registered apprentice program that would open the door to unqualified employers to develop low-wage, lower quality programs. Well, okay, good. Includes $45 million for the Strengthening Community College Training Grants Program, an increase of $5 million, pretty significant. Provides $900 million in emergency contingency funding to help states address spikes in unemployment claims. All right, so yeah, that's just more with unemployment. Not much though, $900 million, less than $1 billion. That's interesting. Okay, so provides the wage and hour division $246 million to increase of $4 million. Strengthen efforts to recover wages for workers who did not receive the pay they were entitled to receive for their work. Gives occupational OSHA $592 million, an increase of $10 million. That's pretty significant. And includes $96 million for the International Labor Affairs Bureau to work with trading partners countries on their commitments to labor requirements under free trade agreements and trade preference programs. All right, science technology, got a pretty big bump. Hey Jim, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, we're just looking at the $1.4 trillion 2021 Omnibus Appropriations bill. Yeah, trying to see where all this money's going. Hope you're doing well, Jim. Thanks for stopping by and saying hi. So, Department of Transportation got a pretty good increase. Oh, it's below, 166 below for our Federal Highway Administration. Includes $13 billion for the Federal Transit Administration, 47 million above. So $2 billion appropriated to capital investment grants. $2.8 billion for Federal Railroad Administration. That's cool. So we're investing more into rail. Funds Amtrak at $2 billion, separate from the aid included in the COVID-19 stimulus package. Of that funding, $700 million is for the Northeast Corridor grants and $1.3 billion is for the National Network grants. So that's interesting. So the Amtrak is getting a lot of support here. Well, it's good to hear you're doing well, Jim. It includes $1 billion for the National Infrastructure Investments Discretionary Grant Program, despite the inclusion of newly required parity between the urban and rural grants. So the Real ID Modernization Act, that's happening soon, contains a 5-year reauthorization of the DOT's pipeline and hazardous materials. All right, so construction got an increase. Yeah, it looks like everything got an increase for the Army Corps of Engineers. Still haven't seen anything about the stipulations of vaping. So it got it really got buried in here. Also, we invested more into terrorism and financial intelligence. That's interesting. I'm going to look that one up too. I never even heard of that before. Community Development Financial Institutions Fund got an increase. The IRS got an increase. Well, they kind of need it. Yeah, the IRS is having some issues. So Veterans Affairs got an increase. Pretty significant one. $3.4 billion more for the Mission Act for the VA. Awesome. Yeah, we gotta take care of our veterans. So the tax provisions. Extends by 5 years a CARES Act provision that allows companies to pay up to $5,250 of an employee's student loan payments each year as a tax-free basis. Oh, that's interesting. So incentivizing companies to help pay off student loans. Cool. Allows teachers to deduct the cost of personal protective equipment as part of the $250 annual deduction for educators. Repeals the tax deduction of college tuition expenses for borrowers. Expands eligibility for a lifetime tax credit. Yeah, I'm still not seeing anything in here about the vaping. I thought if anywhere it'd be in here. Nope, not here. So it really got buried in there. So I don't know what to say, Kayla. I couldn't find it, but you know what? I've got to go actually. It's been fun. It's been real fun, but I gotta do some quick work, and then I've gotta head to lunch with my mom. But yeah, this has been a nice catch up, a good chance to. It is a lot of stuff in one bill, but you know, like that's how things go. Like it seems as if they just put the entire budget. It seems that they put the entire budget in this bill. So this bill was not just the stimulus stuff for COVID relief. It included the entire budget. So that makes sense. So it seems like, yeah, our entire government budget for the year is 1.4 trillion. So I think I need to talk to my brother, my brother-in-law that I got into this argument with. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it should be a nice lunch with my mom. It should be. It should be. We're gonna go eat some seafood, some ceviche. We're into that. But yeah, so like this 1.4 trillion is not like an additional injection into the budget. It's just like the budget total. So yeah, I've gotta correct that. But I think the actual COVID relief, like the money that went for relief to people, was only 900 billion, which is still a lot. 900 billion is more than our military budget. So yeah, this was fun, Kayla. It was good. Got to do this more often. And it's cool. Thank you, Kayla. I will enjoy my day. I appreciate you so much. Enjoy your shopping. And yeah, I'll see you. Maybe I'll see you on Thursday. I'll definitely be at Tea Talks on Thursday. So maybe I'll see you, or tomorrow. I'll see you there. Yeah, I'm grateful that I looked over this list, because it's kind of like triggered me to like look deeper into some other topics that I think are important that we can dive into. You know, such as, you know, some of these, well, I think the Homeland Security area is a really important thing that we can look into. All right, let's go raid. Let's go raid our buddy Tef. It's been a while. I never get to raid him because he's always streaming in the morning. So let's go raid Tef. Let's go give him a hard time. Be like, hello. How are you? Try to creep him out. Let's go give him a tea party. If you got the emotes, pass them on. Let's go get Tef. Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow. Love you all.